It has been a while now since Shanquella Robinson died. While it breaks the hearts of many, the 25-year-old went on a vacation with her friends in Mexico. Her death was a mystery at first. At first, it was said that her death was because of alcohol poisoning, but later in the post-mortem report, it was clear that she died of a broken neck. Many mysteries are now coming out in front of the public. What was the reason behind Robinson's death? Stay tuned to find out. Robinson, a 25-year-old alumnus of Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina, died in October while staying at a luxury rental property in the Mexican state of Baja California Sur. Prosecutors in Mexico are seeking to extradite a friend of Robinson's as a suspect in the case. Baja California Sur Attorney General Daniel de la Rosa told local media that an arrest warrant was issued in Robinson's case for the crime of femicide or the killing of a woman because of her gender. No one has been charged in the case. Authorities haven't released the names of Robinson's friends. Unlike Mexico and other Latin American countries, the United States does not have laws recognizing femicide as a separate crime from homicide, which many experts say does not mean that murders targeting women in the United States are not occurring at an alarming rate. Femicides happen all the time in the United States, and many famous murders that we all remember are femicides, but we don't put that label on them, said Dabney P. Evans, director of the Center for Emory University Humanitarian Emergency, who studies violence against women. Gender-based violence is a major problem worldwide, and that is why scholars say writing femicide into U.S. law could help women. A video circulating online in recent weeks shows a physical altercation in a room between Robinson and another woman, maybe her so-called friend. Father of Robinson told CNN that the video showed his daughter being thrown to the floor and hit in the head. While it is very unclear when the video was taken or if it depicts the moment of death from the injuries Robinson suffered. While Mexico has laws against femicide, the main problem is the death penalty, Garcia-Niz said. The number of cases of gender-based violence is underreported in national statistics and the law is undergone in the justice system, she said. Garcia-Niz says that about 95% of femicides in Mexico go unpunished. If you commit femicide, there's not much chance of conviction, and that's one of the reasons we see rates are still very high. Alejandra Marquez, an assistant professor of Spanish with a focus on gender and sexuality in Latin America and the Caribbean at Michigan State University, said the femicides crisis in Mexico began decades ago and dates back to the 1990s when hundreds of women first drew national attention. Killed in the Mexican border city of Ciudad Juarez, the disproportionate killing of Black women, the crisis of missing or murdered indigenous people, and the 2021 fatal shooting of women in an Atlanta area spa are just few examples of what could potentially be characterized as femicide, experts say. As a society, we all need to recognize that these are not single deaths. They're linked to patterns of patriarchal violence, and we need to think more closely about preventing that kind of violence, said Evans, a scholar at Emory University. Analysis of homicide data from the Violence Policy Center shows that 2,059 women were killed by men in the United States in 2020 and 89% knew their perpetrators. For Evans, having femicide laws in the United States will not solve the problem of toxic masculinity, patriarchy, and misogyny that led to gender-based violence, but the term allows us to talk about this phenomenon and can prevent it from happening. The United States has existing laws to address gender-based violence and systems to track domestic violence, but they are flawed. Federal hate crime laws cover violent or property crimes motivated at least in part by prejudice against race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. At the state level, the definition of hate crimes varies, and several states do not cover bias based on gender. Earlier this year, federal lawmakers reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act. The law aims to protect and support survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and harassment, all documented precursors to femicide. At a March event celebrating the passage of the law, President Joe Biden said more needs to be done to address the problem. No one, regardless of gender or sexual orientation, should experience abuse. And if they do, they should have the services and support they need to get through it. And we're not going to rest. A UN report released found that 81,100 women and girls were intentionally killed around the world last year, with nearly 56% by intimate partners or family members. Describing the full scope of gender-based violence is difficult, the report said, because nearly 4 in 10 killings reported by authorities have no relevant data to identify and count them as gender-related killings. Bernard Robinson, Shanquella's dad, said in an emotional interview with TMZ that the whole incident seemed like a setup and her housemates wouldn't let the same thing happen to him. The alleged violent attack on the businesswoman has gone viral on social media. Horror footage that has emerged shows her being beaten without resisting and others watching. "They attacked her, man," said Bernard. "They attacked her." Robinson is believed to have been on a holiday in Cabo to celebrate a friend's birthday. Bernard also shared the horrifying details of the video and what it was like for him to watch the video as a father. "For them to be in that room, nobody spoke or whatever when it looked like they attacked her, man, and she was just naked," he said. For a dad to watch that video was a heartbreak. Her father was crying during the interview. He said her body was left in the hotel room for a housekeeper to find. The father continues to describe the heartbreaking loss of his only child. "They just took her away. They just punched a hole in my heart, man." Her father continued, "That was my only child. I'm just heartbroken." Regardless of who's responsible, Bernard said he hopes they serve a life in prison. "I just want justice. I'm just angry." If detectives find that she was not killed because of her gender, the investigation will be officially reclassified as homicide. The office said state criminal investigation agents went to the scene where a preliminary investigation was conducted under the relevant protocols. Specialists of the Director of Specialized Services continued processing the premises in search of any indications that should be included in the investigation file. Authorities said that they would collect more evidence and arrive at an accurate interpretation with the data without rolling out any hypotheses. The chief's update to Mexican police contradicted a statement by the U.S. State Department that said there was insufficient evidence to prove Shanquella was killed. CNN reported that the FBI has opened an investigation. No one has been charged until now. It is not possible to verify at this time when or where the video was recorded. However, according to his family, a recent video circulating on the internet and social media allegedly showed Robinson being beaten in a hotel room. In the clip, a man's voice can be heard off-camera taunting Shanquella. "Can you at least fight back?" She tries to get away from her attacker and the woman replies no before pinning her to the floor next to the bed. The woman then punched and kneed the injured Shanquella in the head, shouting at her, "Get up, I'm tired." The case has prompted calls for justice from activists and celebrities, including Cardi B. WBTV reported that her death certificate did not mention alcohol intoxication, but simply said she was found unconscious in her living room. The death certificate did not state whether her death was accident or violent. Shanquella's mother, Salamandra, also broke her silence in an emotional interview with WNCT. They, friends, said she wasn't feeling well. She had alcohol poisoning, she said. When the autopsy came back, they said it had nothing to do with alcohol. They said she had broken a neck and a fractured spine in her back. She was beaten. They couldn't get a pulse. Everyone with her was telling different stories. She said she had a heart of gold. She loved everyone and almost everyone loved her. According to a CaboVillas.com representative, the hotel called the concierge for help, who then called a doctor to administer CPR. She died about 15 minutes after her injuries at 3 p.m. Well, things are very unclear from the authorities too. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out these videos.